In the late 1860s, my spouse and I gathered our children and ventured westward in a wagon covered with canvas pulled by a robust pair of oxen. My father had established himself in Nebraska years before, his letters describing fertile soil and fresh opportunities. With optimism in our hearts, we crossed the Missouri River at St. Joseph and joined a wagon train traveling west along the Oregon Trail. The journey dispelled our misconceptions about the so-called Great Plains, often wrongly depicted as desolate. The rolling grasslands of eastern Kansas unfolded endlessly before us, vibrant with color and potential. When we arrived at the land my father had selected, we found it situated along a spring-fed creek, bordered by bluffs topped with sandstone ledges. As the first signs of spring spread across the hills, we marveled at the untouched beauty surrounding us. With assistance from neighbors, we constructed our first home, a single-room log cabin with a loft, a shingled roof, and a stone hearth. Compared to the comforts we had abandoned, it felt austere and challenging at first. But over time, that modest cabin became the warmest place we'd ever known. With spring in full bloom, we plowed the creek bottom, sowing corn, potatoes, and melons. The fertile, responsive land promised an abundant yield. But nature provided more than just crops. Wild strawberries carpeted the hillsides, their rich red berries ready for gathering. One Sunday morning, my spouse and I set out, eager to fill our bucket. The fruit was so abundant that we crushed as many underfoot as we collected, our hands and lips tinted with their sweetness. With our bucket overflowing, we rested on a sun-warmed stone, reflecting on how much life had changed since leaving the East. Then my spouse pointed across the ravine, her voice filled with excitement. A cluster of strawberries, larger and redder than any we had seen, shone in the sunlight beneath a thicket of undergrowth. Leaving our bucket behind, we hurried over, eager to sample the treasures. As I pushed through the dense brush, my boot struck something solid. I tripped, and when I looked down, my heart froze. A human skull gazed up at me from its moss-covered resting place. Pulse racing, I staggered to my feet. My spouse, noticing my distress, rushed to my side. Together we uncovered more bones, scattered and concealed beneath years of fallen leaves. It soon became clear this patch of land had once been a burial ground. We collected the bones with solemn respect, arranging them as best we could. 12 skeletons, men, women, and children, lay before us, the remains of a forgotten wagon party struck down in the wilderness with no one to honor them. We dug a grave, laid them to rest, and marked the spot with a mound of stones. That evening, as the sun sank below the horizon, we sat on the cabin's porch, tired but satisfied, believing we had honored the deceased. Then, from the trees, a sound carried on the breeze, a sorrowful, anguished cry. The children clutched their mother, eyes wide with fear. Determined to resolve it, I grabbed my rifle. "It's just an owl," I said, more to convince myself than anyone else, or perhaps a tree frog. I searched the cornfield, the barn, the creek, everywhere the sound seemed to originate, but each time I thought I had it pinned down, the voice shifted, always just beyond reach. Finally, I turned back to the cabin, only to find my family had locked the door from inside. That night, and many thereafter, the wailing persisted. We tried to rationalize it, but no explanation sufficed. Neighbors came to assist, staying up through the night, but the sound remained an enigma. It became known as the lost woman's spirit. Autumn arrived, and with it the harvest, but the nightly visitor frayed our nerves. When my spouse suggested we spend the winter with my father along the Little Blue River, I eagerly agreed. We left our homestead behind, returning only by daylight to tend to it. Spring called us back. There were crops to plant, and life had to continue. As night fell, the familiar wail greeted us once more, as if the land itself had awaited our return. Then one afternoon, as we gathered strawberries near the burial site, my spouse and I climbed a ridge to rest. The view was stunning, rugged hills and deep ravines, their rock walls etched with time and weather. It was then that we saw her, tucked against the back of a cavernous ledge. A skeleton lay curled in a crouch, her bony arms raised as if in fear, shielding against a final deadly strike. With great care, we gathered her remains and brought her to rest with her lost companions. We searched for more, but found only the charred remnants of wagons, fire-damaged iron and oxen bones, still bound in their yokes. Scattered among them, broken arrows revealed the truth, the fate of a pioneer party ambushed and left to perish. That night, as I sat on the cabin's doorstep, I pondered. Was the voice that had haunted us for so long the spirit of that lost woman, pleading for someone to find her? Had she finally found peace now that she rested with her kin? I never heard the cries again. The prairie guarded its secrets, and the past faded into memory. But sometimes, when the wind stirs just right through the trees, I wonder if somewhere in the quiet depths of the hills, the echoes of her voice still linger.